Welcome to another episode of Business Straight Up, the podcast for business owners, creatives, entrepreneurs, photographers, basically anyone who wants to make a living doing exactly what they love. I'm so excited you're here today. And today's guest is amazing. Her name is Allie Bjerk. And quite frankly, we just talk about a whole bunch of stuff in today's episode. We talk about the fears that you may be facing when it comes to really showing up in your business, in marketing, in your messaging, and all that good stuff. And consistency. How do you really make that message consistent and set a goal that you can actually hit instead of going from 0 to 60? Maybe we just start a little smaller. Allie is amazing. We're going to talk about investing in yourself, stop asking for permission, and all the things. So if you love this episode, whether you're listening in your earbuds or watching on YouTube, can you head on over to iTunes and leave a review? I would so love to hear what you have to say. It helps me know how I can better serve you, how I can help you, and it also helps us to get amazing guests. A good review is always appreciated as well. I can't wait for you to hear today's episode. Let's dive right in. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Welcome back, amazing business owners. I am so excited today to bring you an amazing boss as a guest. Not lady boss, not girl boss, not boss babe, but a boss, because let's just step into our power, ladies. This is someone who has done things a little bit differently and has stepped outside of the normal everyday habits that most entrepreneurs share. And she's seen amazing success because of it. Allie Bjerk is a visibility strategist, coach, and consultant that has helped hundreds of business owners create visibility strategies and marketing plans to grow their businesses to be super profitable. And she wants her students to not only be profitable, but also balanced and sustainable, because we don't want to work ourselves into the ground, right? Thank you so much for being here today, Allie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I am excited to have you. I know that I have seen your courses online. I'm guessing some of my listeners have probably seen the Facebook ads, which I'm just learning. Oh my gosh.
It's a whole different world.
Oh my gosh, it is. And it's kind of borderline creepy. Like,
yeah,
you can target someone who likes this.
Yeah, it's like mind reading too. It's crazy.
Right? I would love for anyone listening who doesn't know anything about you to learn a little bit more. Can you tell us about your journey? What has led you to where you're at? And what have you learned along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been an entrepreneur for, I think, coming up on 8 years now. I always have to think how old my son is, right? And then subtract a year, because I started it when he was 1. Just kind of jumped into it. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I was ready. My priority shifted really quickly after he was born, and went from working in a creative marketing agency to running some numbers on how much I was being paid versus how much they were charging for my time client facing in the agency versus how much I was paying for daycare. And it all just stopped making sense. So I have a background in graphic design, marketing, search engine optimization, some of the more technical sides of marketing. And I ran the numbers and I figured out, if I could just make $1,500 a month, like that would change my life. I would be able to pull my son out of daycare. And so then I started collecting some freelance clients, moved really, really slowly because I didn't have a lot of confidence in it. I wasn't quite ready to jump. And then my son got kicked out of daycare because he was a biter. And
oh no.
But this was when he was 2.5. So that's how long I had been planning versus actually taking action. And I just decided that was my moment. And I had to, build my parachute as I was jumping out of the plane. And then I started doing social media and website building for people, which it just continued to evolve over time. I realized part of the social media that people needed to really get the ultimate visibility was running ads for their business. And then from running ads, I started building funnels because sometimes the ads weren't converting. And I realized it was a funnel problem, not just the ad problem. So my skill set kept evolving over, 6 or 7 years. And then finally, within the last 18 months, I launched my own ads and my own funnel because I had been, the one behind the scenes doing it for everyone else. What are they, like the shoe cobbler whose children don't have shoes or whatever that quote is. I was a marketer with no marketing. And I finally launched something all out got it working, got it optimized. And now I've stepped more into a consulting role and selling digital products and teaching others to do the same.
Perfect. One of the things that I really love about you, every time I see you on Facebook or on your blog or your podcast, is that you're just very real. I feel like so many business owners just give the best of the highlight reels online. And I love knowing that you're a small town mom turned successful business owner, because I think that so many of us don't really embrace the power that we have, not only in business, but in our lives, to create the lives that we really want. Do you think that your situation, meaning being a mom, full-time mom, smaller town, do you think that that slowed your business growth, or did it amplify it?
I think it slowed it a lot, only because of my brain and because of what I believed about, oh, I'm just, small town Minnesota girl. I have a weird accent. I have a weird last name. Like, I'm everyone else that I was watching be successful in this business. Nobody had kids, or like, at least from my projection, I didn't see the ones that were successful having kids. So I built this story about, I'm never going to have time. I'm never going to have the right business model. I'm never going to be enough to launch this style business, even though ultimately I always wanted to teach and coach and create products. Mm-hmm. So finally, I can remember the exact moment. I was walking on my treadmill one morning, like trying to sneak in some exercise. And I just had this aha moment of like, the more I show up as myself, the more that I'm going to be happy doing what I'm doing. I'm going to feel fulfilled. I'm going to be able to inspire people who are in the same spot, because my story before that was like, I'm a hot mess mom. I'm disorganized. I can't manage all these pieces. There's no balance. Like all of these, everything I believed about myself, I switched negative, instead of like, I'm always creating things on time, and or like I finish things when they need to be done, or I'm inspired by, last minute work, or whatever the story was. Like I learned how to shift things. So I wasn't always being so negative on myself when it came to trying to run a business and be organized and keep that, so-called balance of working mom and running a business.
I think those stories define so much about us. And what's funny is that those stories are the things that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what anyone else says outside of us. The things that we tell ourselves are what we internalize, and that affects us either positively or negatively. And man, I have seen so many, myself included, especially women, internalize things that aren't serving us.
Yeah. And all the time, just for no reason. Like I'll spill my coffee. This is one that I realized like within the last month, just how mean I was to myself for no reason. I'd like spill my coffee and be like, of course I just spilled my coffee. I'm such a klutz. Of course. Like, why am I shaming myself for spilling my coffee instead of just being like, oh, well, that happened.
Right. My husband says, of course, a lot. And I had to kind of teach him not to, because if something goes wrong, he'd be like, of course. I'm like, no, we don't say that. No more.
Exactly. Yes. I just learned that within the last week. So I should have talked to you before that. You could have helped me.
Well, it's really hard. Those negative voices, one of my friends calls it the asshole brain. Like it just goes on repeat in our heads over and over again. And we can choose whether we believe it or whether we say, you know what? I don't choose that story today. I choose something else.
Yeah, because it's totally a choice.
It is.
Like once you become aware of it, you can just choose different thoughts, which is mind-blowing that we're that capable.
Yes. And also kind of, sorry, I write down notes. So kind of to go back to something you said is that your brain was telling you that you're just this. And I feel like so many women use that word just. I'm just a mom. I'm just a photographer. I'm just this. And we've got to lose that word.
Yes. Yeah, that's another one.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, and the other ones that I've become really mindful of saying to myself are like, I need to, like, I need to launch this product. I need to work out more. I need to start eating healthy. So I started shifting it into, it would benefit my energy levels if I ate healthier, or it would benefit my business to have more streams of income or whatever it is. But then it's not such a, like, you need to do this thing that, well, at least my little rebel mind kind of starts taking care of all the reasons why I can't. And so like need to and should, you should do this. And even talking to our kids like that, I've tried to change the way I say, like, you need to go clean your room. It would benefit the whole family if your room was clean so we didn't lose your toys or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Our words are so important, and we a lot of times don't realize how we're affecting ourselves and our families based on what we say. And it's not even that the meaning is different. It's just those words, it kind of sets you up for failure.
Yeah.
One of my coaches, anytime I say, well, I should do this, he goes, you're shitting all over yourself.
I love that. Yep.
And it's true because we set ourselves up for these expectations that are unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one of your many titles other than successful CEO is visibility strategist. And I want to kind of look at that a little bit. What are some of the fears that you have seen from other business owners about really stepping into their stories and being more visible online to grow their businesses?
A lot of it is that they're not consistent. So they'll think they have to have the perfect strategy, or they think it's kind of, again, I always go back to like eating and working out as examples, because apparently that's always top of mind. But it's like, it's like if you tell yourself, I'm going to go on this crazy diet and I'm going to do it every day, like we're going to fall off the wagon. And visibility is the same way. Like if you set your expectations so massive, if you're not showing up at all for yourself, and then you're like, I'm going to, start doing 30-minute live streams every single day, it's really hard to go from nothing to 100 miles per hour. So just one of the biggest things I've realized in the last 2 years is this quote of like, dream big, start tiny. So even if it's, that kind of relates to everything I do in my business, but one of the first digital products I launched was about just doing a quick live stream every day, even if it was just 3 minutes of popping in and like sharing some thoughts about something. And the idea behind that was to build that consistency muscle and build that trust in yourself, like the self-efficacy belief of I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, but I'm going to start really tiny so I can start building upon that. Yeah. So not coming up with this, like calendars worth of massive visibility strategy. Like I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to turn that into a blog, and then I'm going to repurpose that into a YouTube video. And like, we know what these best practices are of being all the places all the time. But when you start with just something small and get into that routine of, it's time for me to do my live stream, then you can add on to that. It's like that habit building thing of drinking water every day, or whatever other small things that we can start with and then build on.
I think that part of that, at least for me, has its root in perfectionist tendencies. Like yes. I know all of the things that I need to do, and if I can't do them all, I'm not going to do any of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Which doesn't serve me. Like, why? Why would I do that to myself? But I see that a lot. And I just get overwhelmed and frustrated. And so I stop. And that I love that quote, dream big, start tiny. Who said that?
Me. Like I have a coffee mug that's from my program that my like signature program is called Tiny Offer Lab. Yeah. So, it's all about tiny steps and tiny digital products and, just stuck.
That's perfect. We'll make that an Instagram quote.
Yeah, there you go.
Put out into the world.
Yeah, I love it.
The biggest mistake most photographers and creative business owners make is thinking that learning another lighting technique or buying new gear, presets, or marketing ideas will bring them success in their business. And I totally understand. I did it too. New gear and new toys are always fun, right? But I wanted to actually make a living with my photography business, not just have fun toys. So I devoured every online resource that told me to buy this lens, this preset, or this software, and that would be the answer to my problem. And what was that problem? No paying clients. Let me ask you, does every photographer or creative business owner that runs a successful business go out and immediately buy all the new things? Of course not. If you continue to hold on to the belief that fancy gear or the next new shiny object will help, not only will you not book the clients you want, but you might even have to shut down your business completely and go back to working for someone else to grow their bottom line instead of building your own dreams and supporting your family with your art in a schedule that fits you best. Learning new marketing techniques will do nothing for you if you're sending those leads to a half-assed website that doesn't reflect your best work for the people you serve, right? So how do you grow your creative or photography business to meet your revenue goals without working yourself into the ground? Well, you start focusing on the business side of running a business. And one of those key business elements is your website. Your website should be your business home on the internet. It is your handshake to the world and should be your best performing employee, bringing you visitors that turn into leads that turn into your dream clients. The big question. Do you really want to keep chasing that fancy new light that you've been eyeballing for a while? Or do you want to learn how to use your website to book the clients that will actually pay you so that you can pay to keep your own lights on? If you are like, Brooke, I need help with all of this. Or maybe you're just a little bit curious. Join us in the free masterclass Websites That Convert at businessstraightedup.com/websites that convert. The class will be held live on Thursday, March 25th, 2021. But if you can't make it live, there will be a replay available. It's time to get rid of that half-ass website and start embracing the power of a website that books clients for you. If you're in and you're ready to make the change, go to businessstraightedup.com/websites that convert to sign up for the free class. And yes, there are 3 S's in the middle of that. businessstraightedup.com/websites that convert. I can't wait to see you there.
I work with so many business owners that are service-based who are really struggling to get their messaging right when it comes to attracting the ideal clients that not only want to work with them, but also want to pay them to work with them. What is something you would share with a business owner who might be holding back when it comes to really sharing some of those real things that make them tick and can help them grow?
I would tell them to imagine their worst client they've ever had and how, because we've all had them, how polar opposite their values perhaps were from yours. And then imagine if they knew exactly who you were from the beginning, like what your values were, what made you tick, what excited you. Maybe they wouldn't have hired you to begin with because they didn't resonate with your story. So the more I started showing up as myself with, messy hair and coffee and kids crawling all over me, the more my clients started to be dream clients because they related to my story. They were right there with me. If I had to cancel a meeting because I had a sick kid, they're like, totally get it. That was me last week. Versus if I was working, let's just use an example of like a 60-year-old CEO man, and now I've got to cancel a meeting because I have a kid, he would probably be less gracious than the mom who's in the same spot. So I started getting clear not only on who my ideal client was, but in that became more comfortable with, being the work at home mom and sometimes what that looks like to need to shift things. And I mean, that was a big part of, I think, accepting and giving myself grace and ownership in who I was as a business owner. I think those are 2 really big pieces is just that ownership.
Yeah. And I feel like authenticity is kind of a buzzword right now, but it's so it means something different for everyone. And it might mean having your kids crawl on you on a live video. Or for me, it might mean, not having full makeup on, but having lip color on because that's what I love. Everyone's a little different, and showing up as you will absolutely attract those. I never thought about working backwards though, because we've all had those clients that were like, it's not a good fit. And that makes a ton of sense. I love that. I know that one of your amazing ideas is the idea of the tiny offer, that someone can offer a lower price offer to not only grow their list, which is something a lot of my audience doesn't work on, and we're working on them for that, but to grow their bottom line as well. Do you think that this is a strategy that can also work for service-based businesses, especially ones that require local clients?
Yeah. So when it comes to creating digital products, I've kind of identified 2 different tracks that people can go on. And it's either creating a digital product that almost helps your ideal client get ready to work with you. So if it's like a checklist or an organizational binder, or, if you're a designer, maybe it's helping them get their copywriting figured out for their website so that when they're ready to hire you, or, in the world of Corona, if things go back to normal, they're ready to hire you and they've got all their planning done to the point as much as they can. If you're like a wedding planner, how do you help them put those pieces together? So there's like that track of not like replacing your expertise, but just helping your ideal client understand how to work with you a little bit better through a tiny, it could be a workbook that's like $7 all the way up to $27 is that entry point. Or if you're ready, which I would assume all of you are, if you would just, own it. It's like teaching other people how to do what you do. So helping people, if you have like a special way as a photographer that you've gotten clients locally, maybe that's a tactic that you could turn into a digital product and share it with other people. Like I got my hair done yesterday and I was talking to my hairstylist about what kind of digital product she could create. And I was like, well, what about how you develop color? I mean, maybe you have a special technique that you could share with other people that's like a different developer, or it's a different brand. Like you can start the things that you've really owned in doing the work that you do, you know, the framework kind of, or the methods that you've created. Whenever I think of digital products, it's like blueprint, framework, like customer, you know, all the, like those buzzwords. But if you can package that up and sell it to other people in your same niche, that can be another avenue. So those are the two tracks to go on.
And what about the people who say it's been done before? There's already people who do that.
Goes back to that ownership of not from you, not with your expertise, not with your voice.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that so many service-based businesses are like, well, you know, I really have to be there to take pictures. But let's talk about family photographers. Why not teach someone how to take better pictures of their kids and charge, I don't know, what, $17 or kind of look at that mid-range.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when they're ready to be in front of the camera too, they're going to hire you because they know you and trust you.
Yep.
It just increases that KLT, the know, like, trust, right?
Yes, 100%. I mean, with photography, I've seen selfie guides, like how to take more professional selfies, or one that's a posing guide. If you're taking your own photos, like how you can actually pose yourself well. Like there's a lot of different angles. It's just finding your unique way of doing things.
Absolutely. And that's something that they can offer even now. I know that in Colorado, our numbers are spiking right now because we're recording this in October, but our numbers are spiking. And so we're looking at more shutdowns possibly. And that is something that you can still offer to bring in some revenue. And yes, I understand it's not going to be the, you know, few $1,000s here and there, but it's still revenue. And then you're growing your list as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of hits both of those. So we live in a world of social media. And ignoring that doesn't serve anyone because it's reality. And I know that I keep telling my students that social media followers don't pay the bills. And I know that you know and teach that as well. What is something you wish you would have known 5 years ago in working on growing your own business and looking at the opportunities in social media?
I would have sold first, or focused on, you know, getting the proof of concept that something was sellable before building out entire products, because that's something that I did. You know, I would build out any sort of program, whether it was like one-to-one creation, or you know, like I would build all the details and create the whole product and write the sales pages, and then I would like kind of launch it a little bit, and then nobody would buy it, and I'd be like, no. It's a product is bad, like nobody wants it. But if I had focused on making the connections and getting the sales first, and then like either live teaching it, you know, that whole pre-launching thing would have saved me a ton of time and probably like 7 years of not doing the thing I actually wanted to be doing. So I think focusing on where your revenue is being generated and where you can expand on different streams of revenue, whether that's the digital products or some consulting, or, you know, like just, I always use the bar stool analogy of, if you think about a bar stool, it's got different legs on it. If you were to take away 2 of the legs, or even, you know, 3 of the legs and give it 1, it's not going to stand up anymore. But if you think about like an octopus bar stool that has all these different legs on it, it's going to be really, really sturdy. So as a creative or as a photographer, how can you add in different streams of revenue to make sure your business is standing on as many legs as possible? So, you know, in the case of Corona or other weird things happening where it's, you know, I hate this word, but unprecedented what we're going through. I'm so sick of that word. But then, you know, you've got these different streams that can keep you really sturdy in your business.
Absolutely. And it's been shown over and over again. I know I've read so many books about money and wealth and personal wealth that the wealthiest people have multiple revenue streams. They have multiple income streams. So it's kind of average. Right. And I've actually learned that the hard way recently. When you have everything in one place that now can't happen, you have to really kind of pivot, which is another word that's been way overused this year. But if you start building those now before there's a national disaster or global crisis, then you're set up for more success in the future as well.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Oh, that's a good one. There's so many. I think probably start before you're ready or do it scared. Something in the world of that type of advice is, so many of us wait until, you know, with the perfectionism thing, again, that need is strong in so many of us. So if you can jump before you're ready, or you can start, just eking your way out of your comfort zone a little bit before you're ready, that can be a huge benefit. And I think that's something I've done consistently, even back when I was a designer. I didn't necessarily understand SEO, and I started reaching out into that world because I saw a need. And then I didn't know ads, and I started learning ads because I saw a need. So I just kept really listening and growing and investing in myself so I could learn the things that kept moving me in the direction that I thought I wanted to go at the time. And really listening to your gut instincts too. Like, why do you want to learn that stuff? And what do you need to do to make it happen?
Sorry, I'm writing all these down. That's amazing. Start before you're ready. How can someone that hears that voice in their brain, this is telling them, who are you to do this? Like, who do you think you are? Why are you doing this? You don't know anything more than the person next to you. What is a step that they can take to get past that and start moving forward? I mean, I know, obviously, just do it. Comes to mind.
Easier said than done, right?
It is. It's easier said than done. What can someone do to kind of quiet that voice for a little bit so that they can move forward?
A lot of it personally for me was my peer group. So when I stepped out of my comfort zone and I invested in a mastermind of like business owners, many of them much, much, much farther ahead than I was. And they were writing books and they were doing all of these crazy things. And I was like, normal people do these things? How are you writing a book? How are you launching this product? And just my awareness of the process to get to that point, or that these were just normal people. They weren't, like the super famous, whatever, celebrities, internet celebrities. They were just normal people who had a goal and believed that they could do it. So that was one of the biggest things that I think helped me start shifting into feeling like it could be reality. And then from a mindset perspective, I'm a huge fan of journaling as if I already had the life or the business that I wanted to have, because that clarity does so much for us to feel the feelings of, what does our body feel like if we're already that person? What kind of actions would we take to become that person, or, stay that person? What conversations would we need to have? What business elements do we need to have in place? A lot of those pieces kind of fall together when you start acting as if you were already the person that you want to become.
That is something that is crazy valuable, that I find that hard to do. Right. I know, you write them down like you've already achieved these goals and these dreams, but then you look up and you're like, oh, maybe not.
Right.
But it is super important to behave like the person that you want to be instead of the person that you are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, having gratitude too for where you're at presently, like actual real gratitude, not like, oh, I'm grateful for my husband, even though he doesn't pick up his laundry and he doesn't cook dinner. It's like, find the thing that you're actually grateful for. Like, I'm grateful for my husband because he's so handy around the house, or I'm grateful for my kids because I love their hugs. If you can trick your brain knows how you really feel about things. So if things don't feel real to you, or if you're not actually grateful for the thing, it's hard to shift into that feeling of what it feels like to be in the moment and be truly grateful for what you have.
Yes. Everyone says you should write down your gratitude journal and write down the things you're grateful for.
You're but I'm full of crap. I don't actually feel grateful for that.
Well, I found myself writing the same things over and over again. So I'm grateful for my home, and I'm grateful for my kid, and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Same thing over and over again. So I actually started a journal called Moments of Joy instead. And it's 3 things that happened throughout the day that really made me just super happy, that warm and fuzzy feeling. And sometimes it's silly things too, like just sitting on the back porch and having my coffee in the morning, and little things, because then you're like, I'm grateful for my car, I'm grateful for my home, I'm grateful for my family. Same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah, it's not super motivating.
Yeah, and they all kind of fit under one umbrella anyway.
Yeah.
What if you didn't have to worry about writing emails to your list for the next 6 months and maybe even a year? Yes, it's true. It's finally here. My students have been asking me for this for years, and I have heard you, and these templates are finally available. Engaging Emails Done is a quick workshop and template bundle to help you harness the power of email marketing to grow your business. You can set it and forget it and actually book more clients. If you're like, Brooke, I am so in, where do I grab these? Head on over to businessstraightedup.com/emailsdone to grab this special limited bundle. If you want to hear a little more, I feel you. I like details too. These templates are designed to be done for you to set up several months of emails in just an hour. Plus, I've recorded several how-to videos to walk you through the technical steps for several different email service providers if you're not sure how to customize and schedule them. Engaging Emails Done has not only a quickie email marketing 101 how-to if you're starting from scratch, but it includes a minimum of 12 email templates that you can schedule ahead of time to take something off of that never-ending to-do list so you can focus on what you love most. Side note, I did say a minimum of 12 because I keep thinking of things to add, so you might even get more than 12. These are brand new. I've never offered something like this before, so grab your email templates plus Email Marketing 101 plus tech tutorials before the price goes up. Grab these templates, tutorials, and help all at businessstraightedup.com/emailsdone. Again, that's businessstraightedup.com/emailsdone.
What was one of the biggest lessons? I have not taken that risk, the scary part of going into a mastermind. What is one of the biggest lessons that you learned in your mastermind, other than the one that we already talked about, is seeing that, yes, you can in fact do everything that you want to do?
I think the other biggest lesson as far as my own clarity is really listening to your gut, because even if you are in a mastermind, people might be sharing strategies that aren't in alignment with how you want to live your life or run your business. So really taking that gut check moment of, that's really cool to learn this, but maybe I want a little different angle. Maybe they're teaching how to really, really hustle and grow a gigantic business, but it's good to do like a check-in with yourself and say, do I want to be working 40 hours a week, or do I like having less time? Kind of finding that happy middle ground between where you want to be and what you're willing to sacrifice to get to that point.
I know that as a boudoir photographer, I see other photographers that are killing it, and I personally do a really good job in boudoir as well, but I only work 2 days a week. And so of course that affects my numbers more than, I'd like to admit, but 2 days a week is where I want my business to be, and figuring out how I can make that work and still have a multiple six-figure business has been really important to me. So I love that, because that alignment is so important to really know what you want. I wanted this level of revenue without working 5 days a week. And that was important to me. Whereas people without kids may be able to work 5 days a week. Maybe that's what they want, or maybe they don't. And that's okay too. Everyone has different wants and needs.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you know personally when you're out of alignment?
Usually if I start feeling unmotivated to do things that I've committed to, that is usually a sign, or some of those burnout feelings of like, I just don't feel like going anywhere today. Like if I stop feeling excited about what I'm doing, there's usually something that's not in alignment. And I just recently, I launched my own mastermind, and I think I sold like 4 or 5 spots right out of the gate. And then I started like getting on client calls, and it was a lot of one-on-one, and it was taking a lot more time than I had imagined. And there were calls on Friday nights and Saturday mornings. And I was like, okay, I didn't quite set this up right. It's not in alignment. It's pulling me away from my family, which is my ultimate goal, is to always be there with my kids and, not take away from time that we should be spending together. So I ended up letting each of the people know who had joined the program, like, I made sure they had everything that they had paid for, and that, delivered what I said I was going to deliver. But then I let them know, like, I'm not going to continue this program because it's not in alignment. And I was so nervous to have that conversation, because I felt like I was letting them down. And I built this story in my head that, they were going to be disappointed in me or whatever. And then after I had a one-on-one conversation with each one of them, they're like, thank you for being an example of really doing what you say you're going to do, and like, being authentic and holding yourself true to your values, because it was hard to unsell something that I had sold. And it was a revenue stream that would have been really good, but it didn't feel right.
Yeah. Well, and I think that what you said is really important is before making that change and backing out, you delivered what you said you were going to deliver. So being true to your word and having integrity in something that, even though it might feel right, you still had integrity, you committed to that. And then you were just honest with them. And I absolutely, as someone who would join a mastermind, I would absolutely honor that. That would mean the world to me to know that, you know what, maybe it's just not the best fit and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard, but it was a good lesson for me and hopefully for the people that signed up as well.
Yeah. What is the best business decision that you've ever made?
Well, this is a deeply personal decision that may not apply to everyone. I stopped asking for permission and started treating my business like a business instead of a hobby. And I realized business revenue can be reinvested instead of, like, when I was first starting, everything I made went to our family. Every dollar that I made from clients, I don't even think I had a business bank account. If they paid me, they paid our family joint checking account. And I didn't reinvest anything in my business. But when I made the shift of, you know what, I am the CEO of my business. When I think of like Fortune 500 CEOs going home and asking their husbands, or husbands or wives, whatever, going home and asking their spouse, like, hey, should I spend this money at Coca-Cola as the CEO or, Nike or whatever big brand? They're doing what benefits the company without really thinking of, how their family isn't as much playing a role in it because it's a business decision. So when I shifted into believing my business creates business revenue, I'm going to bring money home from the business, but I'm also going to reinvest from the business and start treating it as if it's a business. And I finally set up the business bank account and a business credit card. And I started thinking about investing in myself as a business owner. That was a really big shift for me, but I'm not going to tell everyone across the board, like, stop sharing with your spouse or your partner what you're doing in your business, because that can be a slippery slope as well. But it was just something, there was a level of ownership that I needed to take in order to appreciate myself as a business owner and really own that title moving forward. Definitely.
And that's, some people talk with their spouses and that's kind of almost their business partner, even if they're not in the business. So it's different for everyone. But what does investing in yourself look like? Like, what does that look like when you said, I started investing in myself?
So I made 2 decisions almost back to back. I hired a mindset coach to help me figure out where some of my blocks were, some of my stories were that were keeping me stuck or keeping me playing small, like just being a mom from Minnesota, just being, a weird Minnesotan accent. She helped me start identifying the should words and the I need tos and just reprogramming my brain into being more productive and more positive. So that was the first investment. And after working with her, she helped me kind of make that separation between business owner and just hobbyist, essentially. And then the second investment I made was into a business mastermind that was going to help me. This mastermind was all about funnels and ads. So my impression of it was that I was going to become the best in the business as far as creating funnels and ads. Of course, it evolved in a completely different direction, but I just, I decided I'm going to go all in. I'm going to become the best in the industry. And had I not started with the mindset coach, I probably wouldn't have believed that I was even capable of that to begin with.
Yeah. And that mindset shift it's so funny that we think that we need the next shiny thing. We need the next new course. We need the next funnel. We need the next, for photographers, new light or new gear or new camera, new lens. And the reality is, until you start working on things from the inside, you're not going to see the changes on the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. How do you want the world to be different because you lived in it? I feel like this is something I keep asking myself more and more. And I love hearing other women's responses and especially other moms.
Yeah, I think the ripple effect that we create as moms is massive. And I feel like we're really in a shift where moms are starting to have a side hustle or have our own things. We're not just moms and we're not miserable and we're not like, I always see those ads from, like, I don't know if it was the 30s or the 40s where it was like tranquilizers for women. So they didn't have to experience motherhood. It's like,
what?
It's crazy. That's a totally different tangent. But like now we're able to be really intentional moms and we have our own things where we're not losing ourselves in motherhood, where we have our own reasons to invest in ourselves and our own growth. But I feel like that really is trickling down to our children because they're seeing, daughters or sons, they're seeing what we're capable of. They're seeing what it looks like to make a living for yourselves. And I think that empowerment piece, that is what I want to share with the world. It's just empowering business owners and women and moms to see what they're capable of and really chasing after those dreams. Because as our children watch us, that's going to be their impression of what they're capable of as well, which hopefully, if there are people who are happier and more empowered, they're raising happier children, which, in the really, really big scheme of things, I think if we were all happier, it would be a better world to live in.
Absolutely. I love what you said, not losing ourselves in motherhood. I remember watching Shonda Rhimes on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, and she said, all the Mother's Day cards at like Target or whatever say, thanks for sacrificing everything. Thanks for giving up so much. And we need to stop considering ourselves as martyrs. Like, what are we teaching our kids? No wonder girls don't want to have babies when they grow up, because it sucks. So
yeah, exactly. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Like the Halloween costume of the mommy where she's got like her bottle of wine and her Target bag. And I'm like, that's what we're representing as motherhood. And I would really love to see that shift.
Absolutely. I want to see it shift too. I want to see moms that still take care of themselves, and dare I even say take care of themselves first before their family, because that's scandalous to even say that. But what's the saying? You can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Totally. So how do we fill ourselves up? How do we take care of ourselves, not just at home, but in our businesses, by being in alignment and doing the things that really light us up?
And not having the guilt about it either.
Well, mom guilt is like a whole other episode.
Right. It could be like a whole series on mom guilt, but it's, it's like disconnecting from that. If you are pouring or, filling your cup first, trying to shift out of feeling guilty about it. Because even now, I mean, if I'm at work, I'm always like, oh, should I be at home or should I? Because I have someone that helps watch my kids, and my other two are currently in person in school. We'll see how that continues through the fall and winter with Corona, but I still feel guilty sometimes. And I realize it's an unproductive guilt. It's not helping me be better in any way. It's not helping them. It's just completely unproductive.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, it's unproductive. It doesn't serve anyone. And in the end, I don't want my daughter to take that on too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to teach her, oh, I feel bad that I have to work because I'd rather be with you. I don't want to teach her that, because they learn more from watching than they do from anything we say.
Yeah. One thing I've really had to work on with myself is quality over quantity, because if I have all the quantity, like when we were quarantined last March and every waking minute was with each other, I wasn't super happy and excited. And, we weren't doing crafts and we weren't playing games and we weren't snuggling and reading books all day. Like, there was no romanticizing of the time there were moments, of course, but for the most part now, we get our time away from each other. And then when we get back, it's like, I am so excited to see you. Let's play a game. Let's read some books. Let's snuggle. Let's, have some really intentional time together. So that whole just releasing that expectation for myself of this is what it has to look like, that's been massively helpful.
Yes. I remember back in April when my kids were home full time as well, a business coach actually told me, because I was very frustrated. I couldn't do much. I had a 5-year-old on me all day going, what are we going to do today? That's like my least favorite question. And
gotta be something all the time.
Oh my gosh. And
get creative.
Right? And this business coach actually said to me, well, your kids are there, but you should just be able to do what you normally do. And I'm like, do you have children? Oh, no. No, you do not.
Right. Okay. Oh, they didn't?
No.
Oh, that's cute.
I know, right?
Yeah. I had an employee that he didn't have any kids either, and male, and he didn't understand why I was struggling so much to get anything done, or why I was like, my brain was just gone during the first couple months. Like, my creativity or any level of flow for writing or anything, like, I had nothing to give. And he was like, well, can't you just like put him on an iPad all day or something? I'm like, no. Like, it
doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes
just take it away and tell them to play. I'm like, let's just stop.
Well, and a lot of times, even if we're physically, like, we're feeling good, that emotional drain is real. And I've tried to tell my husband that, and he doesn't quite understand. I'm like, look, my brain is dead right now, and it needs rest to have functioning ability again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Like I was probably not the nicest person in those months. Like I looked at my husband at one point and I was like, "Can you please just stop saying words? Like stop talking to me." Like I felt so bad afterwards, but just like listening to the news and having all that sensory input and the kids like touching and me like, "Mom, mom, mom, mom." And then he'd want to talk about current events and I just couldn't.
Yes.
There was just nothing left. And I hated feeling like that.
It was hard because it was nonstop then. And even now that we're back to kind of normal, like a little bit normal, it's still important to remember that. Like, I feel like I learned so much from that in that I do have to take care of myself. And I got to the point where I even told my kids, I'm like, Mommy needs 15 minutes in her bedroom without you.
Yes.
And my daughter, who's 5, would go, okay. And she'd just go play on her own. I'm like, why didn't I ask for that sooner?
Right. Yeah, because the guilt thing, like,
yes,
always.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here today, Allie. I know that your journey is inspiring and can touch so many business owners out there. For anyone listening that wants to learn more, where can they find out more about what you offer and connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was super fun. Fortunately, with the last name that is unique, I have taken ownership of all of the same usernames across the board. So it's ALLIEBJERK.com is my website. So alliebjerk.com. And then the same username on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, all the places.
Lucky Duck.
Yes.
And of course, we'll link to all of that in the show notes. Allie's course of tiny offers, I really believe would benefit so many service-based businesses who have all of their eggs in one basket, so to speak. All of their revenue is based on time helping others, which is a beautiful thing, and I do it as well. But we need to consider the things that could happen because that is real. And even aside from the pandemic, like in February, I fell off my porch and broke my head open.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
It was the most random thing ever. And I couldn't work with my clients for a while. And so it's not just the pandemic. It's not just some like global crisis. Something could happen. What if a kid got sick? Or what if your husband had a heart attack? All of these things could happen. And having that extra revenue stream with a tiny offer or something similar can be so helpful in situations like that as well.
I just got chills. Yes. I'm biased, obviously, but yeah, I think everyone needs some sort of automated system in their businesses to help that income coming in no matter what.
Absolutely. To all of the listeners and amazing business owners that have joined us, thank you so much for listening today. Or if you're on YouTube watching us, I am truly honored that you press play and spent this time with Allie and I. If you are someone that wants to help other people and you know someone who can use this information, maybe they just need to hear this, maybe it's just the mothering part, maybe it's the business part, whatever they may need, please forward this episode over to them. And if you are thinking, wow, this content was amazing, how can I thank you, Brooke? Please head on over to iTunes and leave a review for the Business Straight Up podcast. I know it seems small and it takes a couple of minutes, but those reviews help me to know how I can help you, how I can better serve you. And they also help us to get awesome guests like Allie. So head on over to iTunes, hit pause, leave a review. And if you screenshot your review before you hit submit and email it over to hello@businessstraightup.com, I have a little free gift for you. So please, please, please leave those reviews so we can continue kicking ass with content every week. Thank you so much, Allie.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
And thank you to all my listeners. Take what you've heard, run with it. Keep moving forward through all of the challenges that come up. Look at additional ways to share your expertise and impact the people you want to work with. I can't wait to see what you do with your business and how you change the world. Have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.